And we're live. Welcome to another episode of Sudden Scrap Nation, guys. Um, Sorry that it's been a while. Had a long weekend. Celebrated my birthday last Friday. Nice and old 24. Um, Celebrated by going to Atlanta. So I took the weekend off. I was gonna do a podcast, but uh, just didn't really find the time. Spent a lot of time in the city, also training down there. So along with going out and stuff to celebrate. So between eating and training and going out, sadly couldn't find the time, but we're back. It was a good day. It was a good kind of good week to go, and take a break. There hasn't been much in MMA news, anyways. As well as there wasn't any fights last weekend. So it was a good week just to take a break. We're going back and forth with different MMA events, each week along with boxing. So everyone deserved a little bit of a break. And I took that time to take advantage. Like I said, I went down, trained an American Top Team in Atlanta. That was a good time. Learned some stuff there by Jake. I forget his last name, but um, taught some cool stuff. Got to train with the guys there. Got to spend my birthday with my friend Fitz, some other friends from high school, and it was a good time. It was a real good time. I would say probably the best birthday I've ever had with friends. I'm not a very big birthday person nor holiday kind of person, and I know a lot of people are like that. You just like to hate things. No, it's just I've never really had like a fun birthday or really found the need to celebrate. I don't know. 21 was probably the only birthday that I really made a deal of celebrating, but other than that, not really. Just another day, just another year older. Don't feel any different. Um, so other than that, like I said, it was fun times, good food, some nice Mexican food down there. It was a cool taco place. Um, the Mexicans were in line waiting for food, so I could only so when that happens, like that's a must go to. Um, and it was good. They had all different kinds of tacos. They had the like tongue and all that different crazy stuff that you have to take advantage of, as well as a pitcher of margaritas. So, you know, typical kind of stuff. All right. Well, other than that, once again, I'm sorry for not being around and giving you guys new content. I'm gonna be better with it now, considering we got more fights coming up, especially big ones. Um, Review, like, subscribe the podcast. We're available on iTunes, uh, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube, guys. So we do have a channel. If you want to write all the comments you want to, and follow along with the video portion of it. Hopefully, at one point, I'll be able to once again get into screencasting, so I'll be able to go, and here they do this. You know, um, it's going to take a little bit of time. Also, if you're a video producer or sound producer or whatever the case may be, social media marketer that wants to jump on board with this, I'm more than happy to hire someone freelance and help me out and um, be able to up this product and make it better for everyone. I'm going off of just me figuring it out. So if anyone's out there and they want to help me out, I'd be much appreciated. Um, so MMA news, what's going on? Not really much. Besides a lot of fight announcements uh, with this past week that's been going on. MMA news locally. There's a fight this weekend, Fight Lab 58. I'll be cornering, like I said, so you can catch me there. Catch me outside. You can catch me there. With that, yeah, it's going to be a big card. Got a couple guys from the gym that are fighting. Got co-main event. Curtis is going to be in the I'm pretty sure it's the co-main event. And got a couple guys below on the other parts of the card. Anyway, with actual fight news, not something that's not actual fight news, UFC fight news. Bellator 200 got announced. That's going to be Mirko Krokop versus Roy Nelson. I think two. Yeah. So that should be fun. Along with that, let's see, UFC 225 in Chicago is going to be headlined by Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero 2. I think CM Punk's going to come back and fight. They're looking for a fighter for him. Sure, he's just going to fight Michael Jackson, who, if those who remember, Michael Jackson's the one that fought Mickey Gall to get a chance to fight CM Punk, and Mickey Gall beat Michael Jackson, and then Mickey Gall wiped the floor with CM Punk, so now they're giving him Michael Jackson. Then, what else? This weekend is, and I'll get into fight breakdowns later, this weekend is Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Volkov in a heavyweight 5-round fight. And it's a Fight Pass card, so I think the Fight Pass prelims start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the actual fights start at 5. I won't be watching them live. I'm just gonna watch them after because I have fights that night that I'll be cornering. So I'll be watching the fights, and I'll still give you guys the post-fight breakdown on Sunday. Like I said, I just won't be watching them live. I'll just get through them, watch not the highlights, but since I have Fight Pass, I'll watch the fights, just not live. Let's see. All right, so fight announcements. Other than that, where'd my phone go? Let's see. I'm trying to think. Kevin Lee versus Edson Barboza is now headlining the Atlantic City card. That's the other big one that I was going to touch on. There's a lot of good fights coming out. And Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega is now is for sure slated. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but it's happening. So whether it be the July card or after that, they're going to make that happen. Amanda Nunes is now booked with Raquel Pennington, so that cyborg fight's going to be put on the back burner. And Amanda Nunes also commented that she was looking at Caitlin Vieira as well. Remember, like I told you guys before Caitlin fought against Kat Zingano, that she'd be a good title contender if she could win, which she did. And the reason why is because Amanda Nunes pointed out she's a girl that beat me. So, in Amanda's eyes and in my eyes personally, I think that would be a great fight for her, so she can prove that she's a more developed fighter. You know, she's not the same fighter that she was when Kat Zingano fought her. And it kind of erases that idea of, well, maybe she and Kat should fight. I personally don't want to see Kat fight for the title right now, because I think it would be a different decision, but I think Amanda would win. But then all there is going to be excuses. Oh, but the ring rust and the this and that and that. So I'd rather have two fresh, new fighters and get that division going. And Amanda even pointed out, like, her division's going. Like, it's starting to become a thing. It's starting to become, an actual competitive division. God, my hair is all messed up. It's starting to become an actual competitive division, and I think I agree. I'm inclined to agree with her on that one, where they're getting new faces, even after she had to fight Valentina 2 times, and then the idea that Kat was gonna have to fight her. It just makes sense. It just makes sense to move it along. And then after she beats those girls and cements herself as a dominant 135 champion, then you get Cyborg. And I think beating these up-and-comers is a better way to start cementing your legacy, right? Because if I beat these girls now and then they make a bigger names of themselves later, then it makes that Cyborg card even bigger. So I think that's the way to do it. Raquel Pennington's also is no slouch. That's going to be on the Rio card. Rivera versus Moraes is on the FS1 headliner in Utica. Utica? Well, that could have been, well, no, because it's a UFC fight night, but John Jones missing out. Atlantic City card. John Jones missing out. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje is coming up, and then that Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee. Let's see. And then there's there's a Chile card that I'm sure Ponzinibbio will be on, but it's just about fighting. Alexa Grasso's fighting soon. So a lot of guys are, it's that cycle where they just fought. Now they just got cleared from their 30-day suspensions or 60-day suspensions or whatever the case may be, and now the turnover is happening. They're trying to find a matchup for Ponzinibbio. It's that the welterweight division is on such a hold right now where Darren Till's ready to fight. Ponzinibbio's ready to fight. Usman's ready to fight. Let's see, who else? Dos Anjos is ready to fight. Everyone's ready to fight. Colby Covington's ready to fight. Everybody's ready to fight, but no one wants to fight. How does that happen? How is everyone ready to fight, but no one wants to fight? Someone's got to do Someone's got to do something. Someone's got to make the first move. Someone has to just go ahead and sign the contract. Get it over with. Just get this division moving, right? The champ's out. He's got an injured shoulder. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal. He's saying it's gotten a little bit better, or it's better now. But you can't wait for him. Leave him in the dust. Everyone just leave him in the dust. Make him old news, right? That's the way to do it, right? If he wants to take his time, then let him take his time. But you guys got to do stuff. You guys got to do something. You guys got to take the effort. I mean, you're letting 145ers, like, if there's such a let's say there's this macho mentality in MMA. If someone wants to think there's a macho mentality in MMA, or even a competitive mentality in MMA, you're going to let the 145ers take fights, short notice, don't even care kind of mentality, and you're going to let them show you up? Right? The little guy's going to show you up? Brian Ortega took a fight on short notice against Frankie Edgar, and Frankie Edgar accepted. But yet the welterweight division can't get its ass together or act together and get their asses to fight each other. It doesn't make any sense to me. Some people are saying no to each other. That's it. And the company's giving them too much power to say no. You just got to be like, no, this is what it's going to be. You two are fighting old times, like in the old days where fighters wouldn't know, and not to this extreme, but fighters didn't know who they were fighting until literally sometimes the cards came up. They're like, oh, I guess I'm fighting that person, right? You do have Matt Brown versus Carlos Condit slated. Okay, why are those two welterweights fighting each other? I mean, it's a great fight. It's a great fight. I would love to see it. I mean, it's Matt Brown's only fight coming out of retirement but it doesn't move the division along as much as it is a great fight. It doesn't move it along, which is fine. But it just shows you that it's two different mentalities nowadays, right? You got Colby Covington making videos and burn videos on people and hashtag NerdBash 2018 or whatever the case may be. And then you got other people talking shit on Twitter and whatever and Instagram. And then it's like that's what's supposed to keep them, or that's what they think is going to keep their personality and character in the minds of the fans. No, what keeps you in mind is when you fight and knock someone out or submit them or have an awesome fight or do your job, right? That's what we're trying to get to. The lightweight division and the featherweight division are moving along, and they had the most screwed up thing to happen in those two divisions. Welterweight has been moving along just fine, doing everything that's supposed to be doing. But for some reason now, there's just this dam at the very top, and no one wants to fight each other. No one wants to make the first move. Conor McGregor fucked up the featherweight and lightweight division, and now you've got the lightweight interim champ fighting for the unification belt for the lightweight division, while you have Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier slated. You have Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis. You have Al Quinta versus Paul Felder. The division's moving along. It's getting back on track. They forgot about Conor. And then when it comes to the featherweight division, I mean, Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega, probably one of the best featherweight fights to ever be slated to ever happen. No one gives a fuck about Conor in that division anymore, right? The only reason why he's still relevant in that division is because he keeps digging at Max Holloway, and Max Holloway's responding. And there's nothing wrong with that. I truly appreciate Max Holloway, talking shit to Conor McGregor after Conor is the one trying to talk shit to him. So the way I look at it is, I think the welterweight division needs to forget about that belt, and not forget about it like forget the belt exists, but the belt will come around someone's waist. But it's up to the rest of the division to make it happen. Every other division's doing fine. Every other division, for some reason, is moving along. It was perfectly fine. Right? Robert Whittaker was injured, moving along. Max Holloway's injured, moving it along. Right? Even middleweight had its own problems with GSP and that whole business. I don't know. I don't know. Other than fight announcements in the news, Cynthia Calvillo got an additional 9-month suspension from USADA from smoking weed. I saw some corner footage of her during that fight. That's hilarious. She was like not there at all during the fight. She might have been high when she was fighting, honestly. I mean, she thought she won that Carlos Esparza fight. So, Carlos Esparza versus Claudia Gadelha announced. That's sick. Sick fight. That, once again, strawweight. The women's strawweight division is on fire right now. You have Tisha Torres in the wings waiting. Then you have the rematch between Rose and Joanna about to happen at UFC 226 in Brooklyn on that Khabib versus Tony card. Just a fire card. Anyway. And then Tisha Torres, or Jessica Andrade, not Tisha Torres. Jessica Andrade waiting the win for the winner of whoever that is. Which I would love to watch Joanna versus Jessica again. Excuse me. But I would really love to see Rose versus Jessica. And then you have Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Felice Herring. That fight's coming up. That's a good contender fight. Whoever wins that is right back up there in the ladder. And then you got that Carlos Esparza versus Claudia Gadelha fight. Whoever wins that, there's a good chance they fight Tisha Torres. That's the ladder you want to see again. I'm excited for the women's strawweight division. I'm getting a little bit more excited for the women's bantamweight division. But you're building that ladder again. I mean, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, you don't really have to worry about those divisions. Those divisions are super competitive, that the top 5 guys are always they're always changing, right? Because everyone beats everyone on a different day. Like that Edson versus Kevin Lee fight. Edson can easily knock out Kevin Lee, right? Or Kevin Lee can take Edson Barbosa down and just use Khabib's game plan. There's a very 50-50 on all the guys in the lightweight division especially. There's like a 50-50 matchup all the time. And that's what you want to see. You want to see like these 50-50 matchups in MMA, where in the heavyweight division it's never really been a 50-50 matchup. It's always been 75-25 on who might win it. The 50-50 only comes with like that knockout power. Light heavyweight division especially. There's such a discrepancy between Daniel Cormier, Gustafsson, and John Jones. So John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson, and then everybody else. And then, like, even the people after that, right? There's such a discrepancy that it kind of ruins the light. It's hard for me to get excited for the light heavyweight division. So, following that, we have some fights this weekend. Once again, kind of a slow week. MMA is kind of like on a halt right now until stuff starts to happen, until these next couple of UFC events happen. It's going to be a little bit of a pause. Also, I don't really have much of like breaking down to do right now. The other fight trying announcement is Jeremy Stevens and Jose Aldo want to fight each other. Fucking awesome. That's the fight I want to see. Once again, keep that featherweight division moving. Um, I'm pretty sure Paul Daly versus John Fitch was announced for Bellator. Bellator couldn't get their act together with MVP and Paul Daly. I don't know why. So we're getting John Fitch versus Paul Daly. Is Paul Daly's wrestling takedown going to be enough to stop John Fitch from ground and pounding him? Probably not. Probably not. But whatever. Probably still watch it. And then they're in the works is Rampage versus Vandalay. Like 4. I'm down. Alright. Let's get into the fights this weekend. Alright. So, we have, like I said, Volkov versus Fabricio Werdum. Also, shout out to Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy and John Piper for being home base when it comes to MMA, or for that Jiu-Jitsu training. MMA training as well. I mean, it's part of MMA. And then shout out to Jose Davia and Billy Alexander down at the UFC gym for the striking aspects and jiu-jitsu aspects down there, who I help coach. So, and shout out to all the guys training at the UFC gym. Hard work is much appreciated. And they're looking good. Underground killers, I'm telling you. They're going to cause problems in the next competition. Mark my words. So, with this card, it is UFC in London. This card could have been bigger than what it is. Also, Rashad Evans is slated to fight Anthony Smith. Yeah, the Lionheart. The guy, he just lost to Thiago Santos, who is fighting David Branch next. It's a good fight, good turnaround for David Branch and Thiago Santos. And Anthony Smith is now fighting Rashad Evans. This is a good fight for Anthony Smith to cement his name. But once again, he's beating a legend in Rashad Evans. And what the UFC seems like it's doing is feeding the younger guys, the older guys, to help the older guys make the decision to get the fuck out of the sport. Because if they kept fighting older guys, it would keep them around. But you hand them off to these killers, and they beat them in devastating fashion. Or if these old guys beat them, keeps them around even longer. But it just depends. I personally think that Anthony Smith is his ability to endure. And I know he lost TKO in the last round to Thiago Santos, but Thiago Santos is kicking and power games on a different level than Rashad's. And if Rashad just wants to wrestle with Anthony Smith, I think he makes it a rough night. Anyway, don't really feel like breaking it down right now, but so why don't we just go ahead and start with, why don't we just do the main card of, yeah, there's 4 fights on the main card on this London card. So this London card could have been bigger than it was. This London card had the potential to have Michael Bisping on it for his retirement fight, but Michael Bisping's taking a little bit of time, which is fair. I mean, he did recently lose to Kevin Gastelum in a bad way, and, you know, give him a break. But could have had a lot bigger guys, and could have been headlined by someone that was from England, like Darren Till. Yeah, so, once again, welterweight division. Da fuck. Figure it out. Figure your shit out. Alright, so the first fight on the main card, Leon Edwards, which is a welterweight fight, surprisingly. Leon Edwards versus Peter Sabata. I like Leon Edwards personally. He's been in the game for a little bit, and from England as well. So hometown hero in this fight. Record of 14-3. So he's had his time in there. He's very good ground game, top pressure ground game, good at taking the back from top pressure, and striking's just good striking. You know, the stuff that you need to get to the back. His last fight, he ate a couple shots, but he got out the win. However, took damage. He is fighting Peter Sabata. Dean Lister, trained fighter, and I mean, obviously has a good ground game, but heavier hands. Got heavy hands. 17-5, and he is from Poland. Oh wait, Leon Edwards is from Jamaica. Oh, Leon Edwards is from Jamaica, but he fights out of England. That's right. Um, so in that fight, what I see that their ground game is going to nullify each other. So that leaves the stand up for me. And personally, I've seen the chink in Leon Edwards' stand up game that Peter Sabata can take advantage of. So I'm going to go with Peter Sabata on this fight. I think he either wins by TKO or um, like a decisive decision where there's a couple knockdowns or a couple times that Leon's rocked. I've seen Leon get hurt through the stand up, and I think unless he made some changes from his last fight, his last fight, like I said, he won Brian Barberena. That's it. He beat Brian Barberena. However, Brian Barberena did clip him with an uppercut, and Brian Barberena's stand-up and hands are still not as heavy or as good as Peter Sabata's. So, moving on to the bantamweight division. Tom Duquesnoy versus Terrion Ware. Both prospects with the same... They're both 3 fights in the UFC. Or 2 fights for one and then 3 fights for the other. With a similar opponent in Cody Staneman. And I watched both their fights with Cody. The way I look at it, and then watching Terrion Ware's last fight with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley he's a good fighter. No doubt. I mean, the show that he put on last fight was great. Gives people a lot of different looks. When I get done with these breakdowns, I'm gonna since it's pretty early podcast, I'll throw something at you guys. So Terrion Ware, when he fought both those guys, when he strikes, he reminds me of a heavy bag, and nothing. I mean, he's obviously a UFC caliber fighter. He's in the UFC fighting, right? But when I mean that is he's not good at cage cutting, and he just allows fighters to pot shot him and move away. If you want to put pressure on a fighter, you have to put pressure on them, but smartly. Walking them down doesn't work. You can't just walk opponent down. They're going to pot shot you, and they're going to circle out. And they're going to pot shot you again, circle out. And Terrion Ware's, obviously, his game is to get you to the fence and do work on you. And I think going against a guy like Tom Duquesnoy, whose footwork is fantastic, and even though he had a loss to Cody Staneman, he at least, his stand-up is gonna give Terrion Ware that frustration. He's gonna pot shot him around just like Sean O'Malley did, and he's gonna dance circles around him. I think Tom's clinch work is better than not Sean O'Malley's, but it may be Sean O'Malley's, but more in the sense of he's not just gonna get stuck on the cage. He's not gonna just be held there. I think he's gonna be quicker, and I think Tom Duquesnoy just lights him up, hits him with kicks on the outside, hits him with shots on the outside, and just keeps his distance. I don't think Terrion Ware gets another contract, or I don't think he fights in the UFC after this fight. It's 3 losses in a row, all with up-and-comers. So I don't think he continues on. I don't even know why he's on the main card, to be honest. So you have Jimmy Manuwa versus Juan Blachowicz. This is their second time they fought. So the first time they fought was super boring. And, oh no, Daniel, they were doing cage work. No, they weren't. There's a difference between having cage work and, like, actively going for takedowns and shit, and, like, putting work in and clearly, like, putting in an effort. But the name of this game is Juan Blachowicz just had a better defense he had good defense defending Jimmy Manuwa's deadly left hooks. So if Jimmy can't land those left hooks on you, I mean, you pretty much have to go to decision with him. Jimmy won the last time. Um, Jimmy's lost. His last loss was against Volkan. Got knocked out. Freak way. Volkan's Volkan. Ozdemir. And then Juan Blakovic. Um, his last fight, he beat Jared Cannonier. Devin Clark, he knocked out. Patrick Cumming. Yeah, so see, Juan Blakovic has lost to like the higher level guys in the division. Lost to Corey Anderson, lost to Jimmy Manoa, lost to Alexander Gustafsson, lost to Patrick Cummings. I think Jimmy wins this fight again, unless Juan Blakovic has somehow upped his game to like the next level. I either see a repeat of the last fight or Jimmy lays his hands on him earlier, puts him down. Got a lot of stand-up fighters on this card, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I see that happening. I see that happening more. I feel like a finish in this fight would help Jimmy Manoa out. If he loses to Juan Blakovic, I don't know where he goes from there. Because he's beat other guys, like higher level guys than Juan, but he's also lost to guys as well that are better than him. So I don't know where he would go from there. I guess he would just fight somebody. Maybe like a Gian Vellante versus whoever. Oh, Sam Alvey, I think he's fighting. Yeah. Like the winner of that, or I don't know. I have to look at there's not really much in the light heavyweight division, so pickings are slim. All right, so the main event, Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Volkov. Guys coming in with both heavy, like, wow. Didn't even realize Alexander Volkov's record was that huge. 29-6, and then Fabricio's 23-1, or 23-7. Can I say about this? So, what I look at this fight is Alexander's got a great striking background, and Fabricio Verdum's got a very, very good grappling background. So then when you compare the two, when you compare the weaknesses, how good is Alexander Volkov's bottom game, or Alexander Volkov's ground game, compared to Fabricio Verdum's striking? In comparison, Fabricio Verdum's striking is way closer to Alexander Volkov's striking than Alexander Volkov's grappling is to Fabricio Verdum's grappling. So, obviously, I give Volkov the edge in striking because he's such a tall fighter and he knows how to use his jab. When you watch the Alexander Volkov versus Stefan Struve fight, only one of those guys was using their jab, and it wasn't the guy that was taller than, or it wasn't the skyscraper. Right? So, when I see that fight, I see Fabricio Verdum being able to be creative the way he is, because he's not afraid of what happens when it goes to the ground. Alexander Volkov showed a little bit of ground and pound against the Stefan Struve fight, but Stefan Struve's not Fabricio Verdum on the ground. So what I see in this fight is I see a decision or submission. I don't think Fabricio Verdum outstrikes Alexander Volkov, but I think he hits him with the more significant shots, the more unexpected shots. And I think that if it does go to the ground, you see a lot more work from Fabricio or just a straight-up submission. This is Fabricio Verdum's fight to lose, but if Fabricio Verdum beats Alexander Volkov, I see a jump right back to that potential rematch with Stipe, or if Stipe loses to Daniel Cormier, it's Daniel Cormier versus Fabricio Verdum. So I see Fabricio going right back up to the top of the line if he beats Alexander, because he's just been doing work, right? He's just been doing work in there ever since he lost. hold on. I'll pull up who. So he just beat Marcin Tybura. He handed Walt Harris a loss real quick. He lost to Alistair Overeem. I mean, eh. And then he beat Travis Brown for the second time. So he, in my eyes, he's on a 4-fight winning streak. Obviously, he lost to Alistair Overeem, but everyone lost in that fight. That fight was boring. I don't think anyone won that night. Since losing to Stipe. So if he beats Volkov and can get back into line, that'd be great. That'd be great. And then up to Volkov. If Volkov wins, I mean, he's got a plethora of people he can fight. He's got everybody. He's got everybody and their mama to fight. You know. He's got work to do. He's only got like 3 fights in the UFC. He's only beat Roy Nelson, Stephen Struve, and Tim Johnson. You got work to do, bud. So it's up to, I mean, if he wins, the door's open for Alexander Volkov. And if he wins in decisive fashion, even better. Even better. So, those are the breakdowns. Fabricio Verdum, decision, submission, however you want to pick it. And then I have, who else was on that? I can't believe I'm. Jimmy Manuwa versus Juan Blachowicz. I have Jimmy Manuwa winning with a knockout. And then Tom Duquesnoy versus Terrion Ware. I have Tom Duquesnoy winning. And Leon Edwards versus Peter Sabata. I have Peter Sabata winning. All right. So the little extra that I have for you today, I had a little bit of a request. I'm going to get a little bit into the Khabib versus Tony breakdown, because there's so much to Khabib versus Tony to talk about that I'm obviously not going to be able to do it in just one breakdown video with I'm not going to be able to do it just along the UFC 226 breakdown video. They kind of have to have their own special breakdown because they've been slated to fight each other 3 times now. And 4th time, I guess, is the charm. This time with extreme stakes on the line, I do think this is going to bring the best out of both these guys. I mean, you got a guy on a 10-fight, 11-fight winning streak. And then on top of that, you got a guy that's on a 25-fight winning streak. And he's undefeated. You have the master of controlled chaos in Khabib, a guy that's able to just put you in a blender, but in his own little world, right? It's not a blender all over the octagon. It's a blender in a very specific area in the octagon. And then you've got the master of chaos in Tony Ferguson, a guy who thrives in that blender situation, right? When you put him in the blender, it's like the blender's biting back. It's violent, right? You've got a competitor in Khabib, a guy who competes at the highest level. He's always competed at the highest level. He always has a desire to win, goes in there to win in the easiest way possible, in the most dominant way possible. On the other hand, you got a guy who's a fighter, in and out. He's a guy that goes in there, he uses elbows not to score points. He uses elbows to cut his opponents. He doesn't finish opponents because it looks good on his resume. He finishes opponents because that's what you do when you're trying to fight someone to the death, right? You got a guy who will drag a fight along the whole entire way to make a point to show that he's the best in the world. And then you have a guy who fights because he's the boogeyman and he likes to fight. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib is the best fighter versus the best competitor. Now, MMA is a mix of 2 sports. It's a mix of fighting and sport. That's what makes this fight so intriguing. You get a guy who technically is experienced in every way possible, fighting through the highest levels of Sambo to the lowest levels, or from the lowest level of Sambo to the highest levels of MMA. You know, he went from literally wrestling bears in Russia to fighting for the championship in the UFC. On the other hand, you get Tony Ferguson, a guy whose technique isn't. It's there, like there's technique. But he doesn't value. Like he values knowledge, right? He's Bruce Lee's best and worst enemy, in the sense that Bruce Lee said, "I don't fear the man that practices 1,000 kicks one time, but I fear the man that practices one kick 1,000 times." Tony Ferguson's the guy that practices 1,000 kicks, not one time, but 1,000 times as well. And then he makes it work in the high risk situation. So yes, he's not a guy that is known to be good at one thing and one thing only, but he's excelled at everything he's done. He's not the best wrestler, but he's an All-American. He's not the best boxer, but he'll piece you up on the feet. And he's beaten guys up on the feet that should have beaten him up on the feet. He's not the best jiu-jitsu guy, but most of his wins are by Darschoke. He's not a world champion jiu-jitsu guy, but most of his wins are by submission. And then you get Khabib, a guy who just does everything correct in the grappling. Flawless. Pass, smash, beat down. Pass, smash, beat down. Pass, smash, beat down. That's all he does. He gets you down. He passes your guard. He smashes you. He passes your guard. He smashes you. He gets better position. Smashes you. Maybe threatens a submission. Beats you down. The way that Edson looked like after the first round when they fought each other, Edson looked like he already went 2 to 3 rounds with Khabib. Khabib got him down, and he hits you the whole entire time to make you think about his shots, and that allows him to pass. But the times that he's not thinking about passing, those are the times that he's blasting you with uppercuts. You know, nothing that he does is surprising. It's what you expect. You just can't stop it. So, where Tony figures in all this is Tony is going to do what everyone else has not yet done, and that's embrace the chaos. What that means is everyone's afraid of the lava that is the ground with Khabib. Tony wants to swim in the lava. He's going to go down there with Khabib. He's going to make it his land too. He's going to try to make Khabib scared of his own domain. And that's when Tony can win. If he can get Khabib to be scared of going to the ground because his submission attempts are way too dangerous, well then, guys, you might see that 25-0 turn to 25-1. However, if Tony takes Khabib or Khabib goes to the ground with Tony, and Tony realizes that, shit, we might need to start getting a bear in my training camps, then that 26-0 is a good headline to see what that, and is a good follow up to get Conor McGregor to come back, because that O is something that people still will not have been able to take. So obviously I'm going to break this down in a little bit more detail later on, but I just wanted to give you guys that insight and that beginning to what this fight is. It's not a fight between America and Russia. It's not a fight between El Kukui and the Eagle. It's not a fight between number 1 and number 2. At the base of what this is, it's a fight between a fighter and a competitor. But both are the best at each. You have the best competitor in that division, and you have the best fighter in that division. And that's what everyone wants to see. What makes Max Holloway and Brian Ortega fight that everyone wants to see is because those are two fighters. Those are two guys that go in there and they've got a game plan. Well, Brian Ortega doesn't really. He's already explained that. Tony Ferguson doesn't have a game plan when he goes in there. He just adjusts on the fly. He hits you, see what you do, and then he fires back. Khabib has a very strict game plan. Everyone knows what that game plan is. So you have game plan, controlled chaos, versus the embracement of chaos. The deliverer of adversity and the person who just thrives in adversity. And that's where that mental part of this is going to come to, as well as the physical. All right, guys. Other than that, not this weekend, but next weekend, you have Justin Gaethje versus. Damn, Volkov's fighting out of Moscow. This guy's straight Russian. Call him Drago. Shit's scary. Doesn't look like Drago though, but shit's scary. Oh, never mind. So not. Okay. So there's not a fight next weekend, and there's not a fight the weekend after. There's no more fights in the month of May or month of March. The next fight is UFC 223. Oh, I guess it's UFC 223. 26 is Miocic and Comrie. Sorry, guys. 223 is Ferguson versus Khabib. Ugh. All right. So for 2 weekends, you won't have any fights this week, next weekend, and the weekend after, and then you're gonna get that Tony versus Khabib card. So we have 2 weeks of me really getting into the depths and details. I'm gonna probably do 2 special episodes, one for Tony and Khabib, and one for Rose versus Joanna. Just because those are 2 title fights, and I've got essentially 3 weeks of being able to break this stuff down. So get ready. A lot of Tony Khabib stuff. I know everyone has their own take on it, and everyone wants to hear every opinion out there possible. But guys, this is the best podcast in the South, and I gotta tell you, my opinion and my breakdown of this, it's legit. And guarantee you, your money, if you do bet, go to whatever betting website you want to place your money on. Find out later on who I pick, but place them on that guy or any of the guys this week, and I promise you, you'll rack in. So, once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you Sunday for a post-fight breakdown of the UFC card here in London, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. Enjoy the fights, and we'll see you then.